Well, we are live now. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Fireside chat with the RSK co-founders. We've just been present in Consensus for the 6th year in the row. We started being there, 6 years back from now. And right now, Diego, who is one of the RSK co-founders, he was present at the stage called Foundations, and we made like a recap of everything that's been going on during the past 6 years, and with a vision of what's going to happen in the future. It's been like very moving years with a lot going on since the inception of the RSK that was born like a rootstock as it was its original name. And well, what I wanted to know it's a little bit about how everything started, how it happened. If we're going back to, I don't know, 2010, 11, 12, and we're going back to those days.
I think if we talk about 2011, Sergey needs to lead the way.
2011. Oh, At that time, I was analyzing the security of Bitcoin. Right, it was my first years in the Bitcoin community. In fact, I didn't know I was part of the Bitcoin community. I was auditing the Bitcoin code base, helping the core developers. Even if I was not a core developer, I was most like half of my day was working with the Bitcoin code, trying to improve the security. And I learned so much in those years that I was able to develop several of the technologies that in 2015 went into the creation of the RSK sidechain.
Sergio, and you thought that the code was really bad, no? When you started reviewing Bitcoin.
My first conferences about Bitcoin in 2012 and 2011, 2012 were against Bitcoin, really. Like not against, but it was like more like it doesn't scale, it's not private enough. I have a cyberpunk heart, so I was kind of very critical about the Bitcoin attributes, and it took me a lot of time to understand how new layers would be built on top of Bitcoin, and those limitations would be would be broken, and the limits could expand. So yes, I was critical of many aspects of Bitcoin in the first years, but it took me several years to really understand the potential. And because I don't have a background in economics, also I had to learn a lot about the economic side and the monetary significance of having a Bitcoin standard.
And in my case, Fran, is like, I got in touch with Bitcoin in 2011, but I didn't get it. And it was only in 2012 that I think it's similar, Sergey, because it's like, of course, you kept going and got deeper. I just left it for a few months, but this is like a recurrent thing. It's like the first time you get it into Bitcoin, you don't really get it. It's like you don't get all the dimensions it has, no? So it's like I understood it was digital gold, digital money, not gold. But then I understood some things in 2011. But then I dropped it. I keep doing my stuff, and it was in early 2012 that a friend of mine, Wences Casares, brought me back to Bitcoin. No, he told me like he was all sucked out. We are friends from the early days of the web. So he really like made me click again. I like to revisit Bitcoin because he did something that was like almost impossible to do back then. Argentina had capital control, so it was impossible to get money in and out. And he was living in Silicon Valley, made me open an account in Blockchain Info, now blockchain.com, and he sent me 5,000 Bitcoins that back then were not as much money as they are today. That back then they were like $50,000, something like that. But it's still like I had a web development company back then, and bringing the money from Europe, from my customers, and from the US, it was a pain. It was like almost a month and I had a lot of resources. Like I had an account in the US, an account in Europe, a bank account in Europe, one bank account in the US. So I had PayPal accounts. I had all the resources somebody could have in the third world, like to bring the money to Argentina. And regardless of that, it was taking me 1 month, and I was losing 10% of the money on the process. So when he sent me $50,000 like from Silicon Valley to Argentina without asking permission from anybody, and I sent it back, and everything lasted only 1 hour, I said, wow, this is a new revolution. This is like how a truly open financial system should work. And then I said, okay, because I was looking for something that made me vibrate with in the same way that the web did. So I said, okay, this is going to be my life from now on. And I said that to my partners in the web development company. So that was my beginning in Bitcoin, and that's when I started creating the Bitcoin community in Argentina and in Latin America. That was the beginning for me with Bitcoin.
I should add that Wences also had a special role in my involvement with Bitcoin in 2013, because I had published this article about the Bitcoins that Satoshi could have collected during the first years, and but I was not really part of the Bitcoin community. And that point in time, Wences told me, you have to go to the Bitcoin conference 2013. And that was a life-changing moment for me, like knowing actual people, the people that were behind the project face to face. It was like, it changed my life. So I also have to thank Wences for that opportunity to go to the US to the Bitcoin conference,
which was like very special, no? Because you were dancing with Vitalik in that conference.
Yes, that was an amazing. There was about 100 people, in that conference, maybe 150 people, and all faces that are now legends, right? And we danced on stage. I remember, yes, it was Vitalik was there, Charlie Shrem was there, Rodolfo and Agnes was dancing with me in the stage. It was very a special moment in those times. We really believe, and I still believe that we were changing the world.
Yes, yeah, that's a very important point. Back then, and Rodolfo was my partner in the creation of the Latin American and now Ibero-American Bitcoin community, and together with Franco Amati. And one thing in the early days, we were all idealists. We were there not for the money. We didn't know if Bitcoin was going to be valued, 1 cent or $60,000 like if it's this year. But we thought that this technology could change the world for the best. And I think that's something. I think those were very beautiful early days in that sense. No, Sergey, I don't know, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I really felt part of a community for the first time in my life. The first time I feel part of a movement that was more than technological, was also political, was about personal liberties. And we that come from South America, we know that we've been under several kinds of the famous corralito, where people lost their savings in the banks. Obviously, capital controls that forbid you from working from the outside world. There are many problems in Latin America that Bitcoin really solves.
Yes.
Yeah. In my case, it was in 2013, and thanks to Dieguito, Rodo, and Franco as well. I mean, these three musketeers that kind of brought that amazing revolution that was happening in the world and brought it to Argentina and to Latin America. I was reading stuff about Bitcoin, but I spent 2 full days at La Bitconf in Buenos Aires in December 2013 with Eric Borges, with Trace Mayer. Roger Ver was there. I mean, these guys just brought the most important thinkers, because they were thinkers and builders on the Bitcoin space to Buenos Aires, and I think we are kind of like the second generation, and many projects that are extremely relevant and successful in Latin America, were there in that conference, in the first LABitConf that Dieguito, Rodo, and Frank organized. And actually, in that conference, I think, Sergio, you presented the Patoshi pattern, the analysis. And that's where, you know, I added Serge to my fan list, people I really admire, and that's how it started for me. It's just, and you could feel in that conference this vibe that Dieguito and Sergio were mentioning. I come from an economical background, so to me, learning from this group of developers how a different financial system could be programmed, and explaining me everything that is broken with the legacy financial system that has never been told or taught to me in high school or university as an economist. So I was learning from these guys how a new financial system could be programmed, and that just blew my mind. So thanks Dieguito and Franco and Rodo and everyone organizing that event, because it was amazing.
Yeah, that was, yeah. And there were, I remember Roger back then was called Bitcoin Jesus, because he did a lot of contributions in the early days to Bitcoin to be adopted. He was investing in many of the early Bitcoin projects. Well, Andreas was there as well, no? Andreas Antonopoulos.
Yes.
So it was really amazing. And that's where we met with Gaku. We met actually because a remittance, like a peer-to-peer remittance application, wanted some beta testers. And so they invited for dinner to have some meat and wine to 5. Gaku was not vegetarian yet.
No, exactly.
And so we were like part of those initial 5 beta testers, and then we click through something that's not related to crypto. But so.
Adro, Ru?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so in my case, we were
Please
working
go
together
ahead.
with. Thanks, Ru. We were working together with Ruben. We were working on software development, nothing to do with crypto. But we were looking for new technical challenges, I would say. So I think it was back in 2014 that I met with Gabriel. I don't know if Gabriel remembers this, but he was very important for us to get into Bitcoin, because get together with him, I knew he was working on some stuff regarding Bitcoin. So we got together and he explained me all the things he was doing with Diego. Actually, I didn't know him back then. And yeah, the truth is I didn't understand anything what he said at that time, but he was so passionate about what he was doing. So basically that was the most important thing I got from that lunch we had. And yeah, I got back to the office and told Ruben that it was something that we should explore doing. And well, that's basically how we started. And well, Ruben probably can tell about how we then got to know Sergio and Diego, but that was the moment that was most relevant to me to get into Bitcoin and crypto.
I recall that meeting we had. I still recall our first meeting. Yeah. That was when, at the end of 2014, no? More like November or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that was probably 2014 when you were starting Koi banks.
Yes.
So yeah, as Adrian said, that was kind of a kickoff point for ourselves to start, like, besides reading about the technology, to start considering it seriously, both because we loved by then the technology and learning about new technologies, and also because of the promise of, as you mentioned before, living in South America, of a technology that would enable to go through capital controls or most like state control over your personal assets and about personal privacy. So as Sergio mentioned, well, I personally was one of the people that got into the corralito. So if I could do something that, if I could apply a technology that would prevent that to happen again, that would be awesome. And well, learning about blockchain and Bitcoin gave us that possibility. So after that, we continued digging into the technology, and in 2015, through the sixth co-founder of RSK, through Gabriel, he reintroduced us to Sergio. We actually knew Sergio. He attended the same secondary school than ourselves, but he was older. But so Adrian introduced him to us again. And by then he was working a project called NimbleCoin, that was a project that attempted to create faster settlement than Bitcoin and a larger number of transactions. So we started to work with him on NimbleCoin.
And also to be Turing complete. Because yeah, I love the hair of your son. So it was like also that was the evolution. That's another interesting thing. So we keep connecting the dots. Like NimbleCoin was the evolution of the Quixcoin. That was the first project that Sergio created, the first cryptocurrency, Turing complete cryptocurrency that Sergio created in early 2013. Indeed, when he went to the conference Sergio was mentioning in San Jose, in California, the first Bitcoin conference there, he actually also was like working on Quixcoin and presenting Quixcoin, and then NimbleCoin was like the evolutionary step of that one. So that's like it's very interesting how all the dots. We need to create a timeline of all these things.
Yeah, and there's another dot that Dieguito, you could help me explain, because I remember, I think it was at the end, like November, December 2014, that we flew to San Francisco.
October. It was October
2014.
That we were doing that fundraising for Coinbase.
Exactly, and just meeting everyone in the ecosystem in the Silicon Valley. And we had a conversation with a gentleman called Nick Szabo that Diego knew very well and understood. And they had a wonderful conversation that I barely understood, because I was an economist trying to learn what Bitcoin was, and they were already discussing smart contracts and DeFi for Bitcoin.
And Nick is not easy to follow. When he speaks, he's very highly technical, so it's not like and interesting. Like he could, like, when he speaks with you, he takes notes. You remember, Gaku? He was
at the same time. He was talking and speaking at the same time.
Notes and with a letter that is almost impossible to understand.
Yeah. So I remember I went and grabbed a wine because I didn't understand what you guys were talking. But that's how the initial ideas of Roosstock and RSK started, right? So how was that conversation?
That initial conversation with Nick, because I was telling him that I wanted to use Bitcoin to help Latin America, and he was interested to know what we were doing in Latin America with the communities. No? So I was sharing the vision that we thought that Bitcoin could help Latin America get out of this, like, Latin America is always struggling, to get out, and I think the corruption, the politicians we have, everything is like always taking Latin America down. So that was part of the idea with Rodolfo and Franco, like how we could create a community and use Bitcoin to improve the life of people in Latin America and make Latin America a leader in these technologies instead of a follower. No? So I was sharing a little bit of that with Nick. Nick was interested to know exactly that, how the movement was developing, why people was interested in Bitcoin in Latin America, and as part of that process, we started like a group of volunteers that was starting to go to the slums to understand how Bitcoin could be used in that context, and we were realizing that Bitcoin alone, as it was not enough. That we need to extend Bitcoin. Like So back then it was more about creating a peer-to-peer monetary system backed by Bitcoin with stable assets. Well, now the word stable asset didn't exist back then, but now we call them stable assets. But it was this idea of creating this peer-to-peer monetary system because we knew that we needed the currency, the local currency, or something that was more stable in the short term, because people who live day by day, week by week, cannot afford to be exposed to the Bitcoin volatility. And then, the name of Sergio appeared. Like, okay, how we can extend Bitcoin? But, we didn't know. It was just this discussion of like, okay, if we want Bitcoin to serve the people who is outside the financial system and the ones excluded and the emerging markets or the third world, we need to extend Bitcoin to be something more, to be more than digital gold and a reserve of value. And then our mutual friend with Nick said, okay, why don't we call Sergio? Because Sergio has been like doing Turing complete. He's a security expert for Bitcoin. He has been doing Turing complete cryptocurrency since early 2013.
No, and he's done the security audit of Ethereum as well. So he was also involved in Ethereum.
But I think at that moment, Ethereum was not yet.
No, it was a white paper.
It was an idea because it was early 2014 that Vitalik in the North American Bitcoin conference released it's funny, I was there as well. Like I was coming from Malta, where Blockstream was started by Adam Back, and after I did Malta and then in Miami, and it's very interesting because I was close in the proximity of the two of the leaders that started two of the biggest organizations and platforms in the space in the same moment. No, it's like they started all around that moment, January 2014. So
I remember, Dieguito, Nick being frustrated that Ethereum was going to be built not on top of Bitcoin infrastructure, in a separate network. And that was kind of...
Yeah, we were sharing that as well, because I was also I was saying, why we are getting rid of all the network effect that Bitcoin already created and the security, because from my perspective, the main problem was two things. Is creating the same level of liquidity or acceptance that Bitcoin already had was going to take many, many years, and creating the same level of security infrastructure also was going to take many, many years. And in my head, the World Bank was having a report saying that in 2020, half of the population that was unbanked was going to have a smartphone. So the opportunity I was trying to chase is if we were on time, we could actually do this extension of Bitcoin and create a financial system that was inclusive on time to catch up with the adoption of a smartphone, so we could solve the problem in that way. But yeah, so that's when the name of Sergey appeared. I think Sergey earlier that year was in Princeton with Nick. No, you were having dinner with Nick, no, Sergey?
Yeah, there was a very, very interesting meeting in Princeton with a key. There was the first meeting from the academics with the Bitcoin, I would say, core developers, and the first time that the academia tried to reach the Bitcoin developers, and we tried to help the academia connecting with the Bitcoin developers and the Bitcoin developers taking the new efforts that the academia was doing to improve the Bitcoin software. There was, of course, there was Gavin Anderson was there, Gregory Maxwell was there, Nick Szabo was there, Andrew Miller was there. I love that time.
So that was also, I think, why Sergey came in that conversation. It's I knew about Sergey from LaBitConf, December 2013. Nick was with Sergey in Princeton. It was all I don't know, when you see it in perspective, it's crazy, all the connections. Sergey was also in, because you were presenting Quickscoin in the San Jose conference, no, Sergey?
It's very funny because Quickscoin was the first smart contract platform that was coded right?
Yeah.
And I was trying to get like followers or adepts for Quickscoin in that conference. And I think I'm very bad seller, because I only get a few people interested in a fully working smart contract platform. That was Quickscoin. And I was, at the time, I was very, very focused on online games like Quickscoin. Quickscoin was a generic Turing complete smart contract platform. But my personal, because of my work in peer-to-peer poker, was focused on peer-to-peer games. So I didn't understood at that time the potential for the financial industry to have smart contracts. I was focused on gaming, and what Ethereum did first was identifying the use cases that were key for financial applications, and that's when Ethereum was launched, when Ethereum was, the project was launched like a year afterwards. I understood that smart contract platform was much more than just a gaming platform.
Something that I think that we had in our favor when RSK was launched is that the concept of sidechains didn't exist at the time, no, when Ethereum launched. So because I remember talking to a core developer that was involved in the early launch of Ethereum, and he mentioning we wanted to build it on top of Bitcoin. It's not that we didn't want to, but we didn't find a way.
Yeah, the requirements for a sidechain were stated in 2012. So everybody knew what a sidechain was, but nobody knew exactly how to build it, right? So everyone knew the properties that a sidechain should have, but there was no technology at that time that could really do it on top of Bitcoin. The first idea was to do a decentralized SPV to SPV, bridge, where one blockchain would understand the consensus of the other, so they would be connected in a decentralized way. But there was no opcodes in Bitcoin to be able to analyze to execute the consensus of other blockchain. And I thought, okay, the technology will sometime will come to Bitcoin, but we don't have time to wait. We have to develop on top of Bitcoin right now. And the best technology that was at that moment was federated sidechains. So we started with the federated sidechains with the final, objective to transition to a more decentralized technology. And we are in the path of that transition. Whether that decentralized technology is drive chains or is fully, snark, verify sidechains, we don't know yet. But we are in that process, and with the introduction of the POPEC, maybe I don't know if many of the people that are here today know about the POPEC, what the POPEC is, but the POPEC was a huge enhancement of the security and decentralization of the original RSK PEG. So we now benefit from a much greater decentralization and security than any other pegging system that exists, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think there was another contribution at the end of 2014 from Blockstream, actually, where they formalized the concept of a Bitcoin sidechain with some but as Sergio said, the concept were there. Indeed, when you go, for example, to atomic swaps, there's two proposals, one from Tim Nolan, and the other one that is basically revealing secrets, and the other one that was the one that Sergio brought, that is exactly this, the concept of SPV.
Yes.
SPV are simple payment verifications. It's like where you extract the proof that a transaction existed in another blockchain and you validate that proof. But the problem is that Bitcoin doesn't have the capability of understanding proof from other blockchains. So that was like the main problem we had. Sergio just explained, but it's interesting. Again, it's like this is like goes building up in waves, and we are like trying to find solutions to very difficult problems. It's like it's a process.
Yeah, the protocol was called P2P TradeX, the first protocol, which is kind of the seed of the blockstream sidechain concept. Like, what if one blockchain analyzes the consensus? Now it's commonly called stateless SPV proofs. But the same concept was P2P TradeX in 2012, I think. But when Blockstream wrote the paper, they realized that there's some assumptions on censorship resistance to create these validated sidechains, and they did not want to have those assumptions. So I think that in the end, the drive chain solution, it's like accepting those assumptions and just doing it in the most simplified way. So I bet that the drive chain solution will, in the following 2 years, be implemented for Bitcoin. It's a different trust model, but it's a very solid trust model if you analyze it carefully.
And yeah, I recall that you published about the P2P TradeX in Bitcoin Talk, in the Bitcoin Talk forum, because I remember a thread from you about that. No?
I was super active in Bitcoin Talk forum. That was the genesis of. I mean, you can trace every single discussion that you see now to some message in Bitcoin Talk forum, and it was exciting to hear all these ideas there.
Yeah, I recall it was very interesting.
I don't know, guys, if you feel the same, but somehow I remember the good old days, and there was a lot of revolutionary discussions. We kind of everybody understood that there was a monetary side of it, but there was a real deep, transformational conversation going on. And the broader the ecosystem became, and new users came to the space and new projects, I think it's great for general adoption. But somehow I think there's too much noise and not too much conversation about what's really revolutionary about this. Do you guys agree? Do you share this?
So there is several layers of revolutions going on, right? Yeah. There is the monetary revolution, which is clearly very, very tied with Bitcoin, and also the smart contract revolution and the decentralized finance revolution, which is multi-chain, which is bridged, which is growing all the time. So there are several aspects of the several revolutions going on at the same time. But it's all rooted in the monetary revolution, having a non-government issued cryptocurrency. That's the root of everything. If you take that away, then what you have left, PayPal, right?
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Ru, about that?
No. Maybe what Gabi mentioned about that there's a lot of noise. And sometimes I feel it's necessary evil because, well, normally, for example, in the last few months when the prices goes of Bitcoin or Ether or whatever coin goes up, it appears in the media, and everyone starts to get interested in it, and there's a lot of funds flowing into the ecosystem. Maybe so. I feel that's important to grow the ecosystem, and that's kind of a step that it's needed so that the ecosystem grows. And maybe it's our role, or the role of the people that were originally in this space and that we are in the space because that it's, I feel, far more important than only that speculation to teach and to educate about what Sergio said and what you said before, what is really revolutionary, why this system is better than the previous one, and what is it that we are trying to build here, that it's not only about making money with crypto, but that it involves a far larger revolution and ideas behind it.
Yes, and I think, I agree with you, that I think we had these, the waves are being bigger, but this was always the case. In 2013, we also felt like, we were we had that ideology, but then you had like the price going from $100, well, first from 20 to 260 in the early 2013, and then from 100 to $1,100 dollars at the end of the year. And of course, like, you know, the media is mostly about that, but, you know, it's about like either the usage of crypto in crime or the price appreciation. That brings a lot. I mean, people comes for the money, but then they stay for the revolution. No, it's like once it's like kind of the thing we always talk about, the rabbit hole. No, it's like it's not our case. We didn't came for the money, but conceptually, it's like even if people come for the money, then they realize this whole new world that is being built. Then they question how the financial system works. They question how society works, and that is, I think, one of the most valuable things for me in this movement is that it changed myself. It's like I learned about the financial system of the world thanks to Bitcoin. I was completely ignorant about it before.
I watch several, but I remember the last of Gabriel's talks to secondary school students about what Bitcoin means and how it changes the equation about what fiat currency means. And I still love it. I mean, I love to hear so the simple explanation that Bitcoin is essentially a revolution in terms of monetary of monetary existence, right? A new stage in the evolution of money. So if a secondary school student can understand this, then, you know, everyone should be able to.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably like making that vision a reality. I think it's part of the challenges that we have now. There's such a big wave now, and there's the volume of the new adopters or people that it's coming only because of the price. It's so big that I think we are kind of as every 4 years we are at an inflection point where we need to take this revolution where we want it to go, and not just to leave it as a fancy technology that will not cause the change that we want to make. So I feel that's quite important to keep in mind today, to promote all the decentralization changes and revolution that Bitcoin, Ether, and other decentralized RSK and other decentralized platforms give, and also warning about the risks that let's say blockchain technologies or that some promise without really considering the change and being only just an alternative to maintain the status quo, but maybe I don't know, changing, making other people rich, but keeping the status quo as it is.
Yeah, and also it's very tough to explain, no? Because when you understand true decentralization, which is the core of, you know, protecting the ethos, no, the famous don't trust, verify of Bitcoin, no, like saying, okay, when you see that, it's like in technical terms, it's very complex to protect that sovereignty of individuals. So normal people cannot understand why it's so important to keep the networks decentralized, why it's not the same like having a network protected by thousands of nodes and hashing power or proof of work, like how they say the thermodynamically protected system, instead of, you know, having a bunch of servers run by corporations or governments. You know, it's not, I mean, what we are trying to protect is something that is not so clear for everybody, no? But I think that's also, I feel one of our duties to for those who have been long enough and understand the deep consequences of certain technical decisions, and to keep protecting that, no? I think it's like to keep protecting that for the rest of humanity. And I think that's a very important thing.
And there's people that like you can see they are starting to use these technologies. Not sure if they understand like all the complexity that you say, Diego, but I think things have changed a lot from the old days, as Gaku said before. I think that the most interesting thing is seeing that there are real use cases and people that starting to use it. It has become like easier to use the technologies, although there's still a long way to go in terms of user experience, but especially in this region where we are now, you can see people benefiting from that. So despite all the noise and all the, yeah, I'd say probably also competition between projects and everything, it's, yeah, I think you can see like real value in the technologies in RSK and other projects that are building.
Adrian,
yeah,
there are some questions posted here about what are the short-term and I suppose that yeah, the short-term improvements or next steps for RSK. What is coming? You that have this important role.
Yeah, I mean that. Of course, we are working in a lot of stuff, especially regarding making the technology more scalable, being able to process more transactions and being more secure. This is something that always it's always in our roadmap, but at the same time, we are, you know, the ecosystem in RSK has grown a lot. It's not something that we are now can decide ourselves. So
there was like a RSK community call recently, and I think it was very successful in the participation and.
Yeah, we're helping in creating these spaces where different shareholders or actors in the RSK ecosystem can basically give feedback and have an involvement in how the technology evolves, right? So there's a lot of things that we are working on, but there are a lot of things that we probably don't know that we will be working on because it depends on the needs of the ecosystem. But those are things that we from IOB we are working. Also in improving the, you mentioned before, the POPEG and the HSMs and everything regarding securing the value logged in RSK. That's super important. And yeah, that's more or less the themes, right? I'm not like mentioning any specific feature or things like that, but basically the themes that usually are a top priority for us, right?
Also, Iris is soon to activate, right?
Yeah, Iris, well, it's the name of RSK next network upgrade, and it will be soon released. I mean, the Iris implementation in the client reference that we work on, which is RSKJ, and it will be released in the next few weeks, and so it will get activated very soon. There is a lot of improvements, especially in the two-way peg, I would say, mostly there, to make it much easier to use, reducing the thresholds, being able to for users to select where the BTCs or the RBTCs on the BTCs on RSK will be delivered. So there are a lot of things regarding making it easier, which is something that it's been like a kind of an obstacle for users. We are aware of that, so we've been working hard on that. So hopefully it will be available soon.
One of the protocols that is activating Iris is the flyover protocol, and this is something completely new. No other blockchain has something like that. It's a new protocol for sending bitcoins back from and to RSK that is fully trustless, but at the same time it's fast, right? So it allows you to move funds with few confirmations. So that is also a game changer, right? I really want to be that functioning and wallets using it.
Yes. Yeah, I think I think the flyover protocol. Well, that's about like, I think at the beginning we were so focused on security and making it happen, no, like the extending Bitcoin. That was like the full focus. And as those layers are cemented, we start like putting more and more focus on usability, removing any friction to get in and out of the RSK ecosystem. And also, I think this year is very important that there's people asking about RIF, for example, no, how the RIF economy is going to pick up. And I think this is, we are building bottom up, which is usually tougher because it's like it takes longer. So we have been like building this layer 2 to Bitcoin. That now it's in a state where RSK, you could say, is the safest smart contract blockchain, and the second safest after Bitcoin. So we have gone a long way, and now we are starting, like, for the last years, we have been focusing on layer 3, the peer-to-peer protocols that use RSK blockchain as an economic coordination mechanism, but they fully work on a peer-to-peer and can scale and provide the protocols to provide the users. The simple terms I put it is like, we are building with this layer 3, we are sorting out many of the problems of blockchains, that are mostly scalability, user experience, interoperability, and additionally, we are creating a truly peer-to-peer internet infrastructure, which is huge if you think about it. So and finally, after so many years, we have the core protocols, and now the moment has come to turn those protocols into products. I think this is a year in terms of like what people is asking is like, okay, for the actual economy, the RIF economy to grow, you need to have products, because the economy is built by people getting value from these protocols, and they can get value by using products that implement these protocols. And I would say when RSK or when RIF, as they are putting on the chat, I think this is a year. This is a year where we will see all these pieces coming together. We have been building the protocols in isolation. We have been like, and through the creation of products and services, and the ecosystem that has been growing in RSK, we will see this year where we will see the value of all these protocols, because until now they were protocols. Now they are becoming products and services, and that's when the economy happens. Yeah. But we needed to build the foundations prior to that. No? So all the things we are talking, like removing friction, making it, making the blockchain scalable, and why is relevant? Because we are building for the long term. We are building this infrastructure because we hope this will last decades, not be infrastructure for the next year or the next hype, technological hype, but we are trying to build this to be infrastructure for the world for the next decades. Mm-hmm. And that takes time. Like it's not, there's no easy way, there's no shortcuts to build that. And one thing that is very unknown, very likely, and because Adri doesn't speak publicly as much as maybe Sergio or myself, is like, he was mentioning the complexities, but I think every deployment of a new client or proposal of a new client of the RSKJ that Adrian and his team does, and has so much care and so much work to actually, because of course the community will choose whether to implement or not that new client, but there's so much responsibility in bringing new clients that don't open new security breaches, that protect this decentralization ethos. So I think it's that's also one of our challenges, because we are building this skyscraper of technology where we have like Bitcoin at the foundations, RSK blockchain, RSK infrastructure services, then helping others build on top of that applications that are meaningful, that create value, creating a meaningful economy, because decentralized systems are as safe as the economy they host. If you don't have a healthy economy, then there's no protocol that will stay decentralized. No.
I think that it is key that now wallets are implementing DeFi protocols on RSK directly into the wallet applications.
Yes.
And that, because if not, then it's just a small group of traders using RSK, and we don't want that. We want just the technology to be, to reach masses. So I've seen new wallets using directly the RIF and the RSK protocols from the wallet, and
Yes.
I think that is amazing for adoption.
Yeah, and that when you see that like working is when you say, okay, this can be mainstream. This can be something that anybody can use, and somebody's mentioning RIF relaying, for example, one of the RIF protocols. RIF relaying, for example, it creates a user experience when you transfer, when you do payments, that is the same that a neobank, I don't know, Walla in Argentina or N26 or Revolut in Europe are providing, but using decentralized, non-custodial infrastructure. So that's when you see, RIF relaying per se, the protocol has been, working from last year, but until you see it integrated into the wallet and you see the users, and the users use it and experience in crypto the same experience they experience in fintechs and neobanks, that's when you see the power of the RIF services and the RIF economy. It's a little bit more indirect than creating a simple application and pushing it to the market. Because as Sergio was saying, it's like this work with the partners that creates the value. It's not us directly, but it's a joint work.
And Dieguito, what I would like to add that the challenge of offering and making this technology easy to use to billions of unbanked people that are illiterate or don't know how to use complex phone applications or never had access to the financial system is much more difficult from a user experience standpoint than creating a blockchain app for traders or for savvy financial investors. And also there's a sense of responsibility on the security side, because if something goes wrong, then it's people who need the most, the ones that are going to be potentially harmed. So I was connecting this to this, slowly but steady process of increasing the security, expanding the network, building the technological building blocks for the user experience, and letting the ecosystem also build the applications that hopefully are starting to serve millions of users. The adoption in countries such as Argentina or Venezuela, where blockchain technology is needed the most, to me is a little bit like a forward-looking of what could happen in the rest of the world with everything that is going on with massive inflation and money printing around the world and different economic crises. So sometimes I say that we in Latin America, we come from the future because we know what is to deal with the hyperinflation and with a financial system that is broken and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, we've been talking I actually have been listening to you most of this time. It's been almost 1 hour. So, I don't know. I think I have one last question. You mentioned that, everything that's building on top of RSK and on top of Bitcoin, and we've been talking about, all the layers that Bitcoin has, and that it's community driven and socially driven, and it has a purpose. So with the community call and with ecosystem updates and, by listening and having their feedback all the time, I don't know, maybe here we have Amelia that can help us with some links, but how is it that you listen to them? We have some forums, some research forums, I believe. We also have an open Slack channel, and that's how also the user experience it's being built, right?
Mm-hmm. I can mention the research forum that maybe I will post a link later. where all the RSK IPs are discussed. This is the place where new proposals that affect RSK consensus are discussed. There are many open discussions currently. So if you have an idea, you just can post your idea, or we can help you even to draft an RSK IP, to post that on the RSK IP repository on GitHub, and then we open a discussion thread in the research forum. And if this proposal is discussed and accepted by the community, then it can be discussed in the RSK community call, and it can reach a network upgrade of the RSK node. That regarding research focus. I don't know if Adrian, you want to mention all other channels.
So there is an open Slack that Fran mentioned. Maybe someone can share the link there. But basically, it's an open space for anyone wanted to discuss anything about RSK technologies. For people building on RSK, there's always someone there to help you basically answer any questions. So it's a general purpose open Slack for anyone. And yeah, I mean, there are many spaces where anyone can participate and basically be part of deciding where the technology is going. Yeah.
I would also like to add that I'm very happy. This is the first time ever that anyone at Consensus presents with a poncho, which represents the Latin American values of the people. And I think that's very important, because we want to keep in mind always the purpose why we're building all this technology. So thanks, Diego, for reminding that with the poncho.
Yeah.
And the mate.
Yeah. Or maybe it reminds also of the first Consensus, where before traveling there and to talk on stage, we had to go and buy clothes because we needed a shirt and a jacket, because we wanted to go kind of formal and with nice clothes. So maybe it's time to seeing at the poncho, it's time to go again to buy some clothes.
So
it was a Trojan horse. It was a dress in suits, but underneath it was a poncho spirit.
Yes. Yeah, I think it has been a long ride, no? Like this is the 6th time we are at Consensus talking about RSK, and one thing I love is like every year we come. Like last year we didn't have like a DeFi ecosystem built, and some of the Reef protocols were not mature enough yet, and this year we have a DeFi ecosystem, and it's one we need to be very proud of, because the money on chain protocol is one of the best, if not the best, stable asset protocol backed by crypto in the world, and has 2 implementations, the one with Bitcoin and the one with Reef, to create stable assets that don't depend on third parties. So when you think about that, it's like it's the first peer-to-peer monetary system, running secured by Bitcoin. And well, that was part of that original talk with Nick Szabo in 2014. Now that's a reality. And it might look like a lot, but it's only 7 years to bring something that will be so strong and so powerful for humanity. So I think it's like, it looks low, but when we will see this in the future in perspective, we'll see that this was not slow at all. I mean, we are changing hundreds of years of intermediation in the financial system, hundreds of years of that intermediation sometimes being used in a responsible way, sometimes being used against the people who actually trusted those systems. And I think if it takes a couple of years more to get to the place we want to, it completely deserves it. No, it's like it is very important.
Absolutely.
And if it comes from Latin America, I think we can have another an additional pride of like that a bunch of Latinos pulled this off. Of course, now we are, IOV Labs, the organization that we work or on daily basis is a global organization today, but the Latino spirit is there, no? The Argentinian and Latino spirit is there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think that we covered a lot. Well, I'm very pleased actually having you all here, because it's been like a really long time since we had this conversation and we engaged with the public. And probably more will listen, and some of them, well, I've seen some comments, and some of them they're newbies on this world, and maybe, well, as Gabriel mentioned before, they entered because of the monetary, and for Ruben because of it's been noticed and it's been used for the past couple of months. But we're building here something big, something huge, and that will, well, it will live together with a centralized financial system, but it will also help a lot of excluded people. So I think that that's a very valuable mission. I'm very grateful for that, and for knowing you all, and well, for having this place to talk a little bit.
Thank you, Fran.
Thanks, Fran, for the invitation.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all, and
Thank you, everyone.
Right?
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Big pleasure.